Welcome to week 1 officially. You guys did such a good job with week 0 with your introductions and with your challenges and getting everything all ready and getting rolling. We're really proud of you and we're really excited. How are your tiny teams going? I'd love to hear how that's going and if you guys are loving them, how things are working so far. Hopefully you've gotten your book or at least been able to read the first chapter. I am loving all that you guys are posting from your takeaways. So don't feel silly if you feel like posting something. Hello, Vic. If you feel like posting something that somebody else has already said, it's okay. You can both kind of have the same aha moment, and then I can know where you guys are going and what your minds are kind of taking a hold upon, what you notice, what you don't notice that I might need to bring out or something like that. So loving your takeaways. I like that you're actually thinking about specifically what you're learning. And I actually did have one person reach out to me from our team and have a question. And she said, she messaged me, which I appreciate. And she said, hey, can I have a little...
Hey, Bev.
Oh, Bev. Hey, Bev. And she said, hey, can I disagree with the chapter 1, something that it said? Can we chat about it? And I was like, sure. So the thing that she had kind of, that just didn't settle right with her is, so I'm not going to go over the book because you all read it and that'll hopefully kind of cut through some of the time, even though there's so many good things in here. Hopefully you got, but I've seen your takeaways. But so the part that she kind of had a little bit of a, I don't know, it just didn't feel right was the part where she, in chapter 1, is it a numbers game? So she asked me, she said, is it really a numbers game? Are we just, her impression of a numbers game meant that you just go out like a big fire hose and you just try to kind of spam everybody into joining with you. Taylor, hello, into joining your team. And you kind of turn into, like I said, like this big spam sandwich where you just try to just turn it gross, exactly, slimy, gross, creepy, where you just kind of, I don't know, turn into one of those kind of people. And so that's what she thought that I meant, or that the author meant by the numbers game, where you just try to get anybody and everybody. You don't care who they are. You don't personalize an invitation. You just try to get them all in as fast as you can. And so I explained to her that my view and what I understand she's saying as well, as well as what I've seen, is that it is indeed a numbers game. Not that way, not the spammy sandwich way of just trying to get everybody to join, but that it's more of a mindset that you can't just recruit 4 people and think, oh, I now have my 4 directors, so I'm going to be a superstar director with these 4 people who are going to just rock and roll and build all their teams and I'm done recruiting. But that the numbers game is that you give people the latitude, the choice of whether they're going to be active this month or not. But if you only build your team out to where you need 10 people to get you to director and that's what you're counting on, then you're going to be disappointed and you might even be pushing them too much, and your goal for their business is going to be different than their goal for their business. But if it's a numbers game and if you have 30 or 40 on your team trying to all go towards that same goal, that's where the numbers game comes in and easier. And it makes it more likely that you'll hit it and a lot more comfortable for everybody in the meanwhile, because you won't have to be, you know, they don't have to be. Everybody has ups and downs and choice in their business. And so if you're expecting everybody to be high gear and revved up like you are all the time, that might not be really what they're needing and what they're looking for. And that's okay. It's okay if you have enough numbers built in there to kind of be a cushion. They can coast for a while. Sometimes life goes up and down, and that's all right. That's the beauty of our Scentsy business, is that it really can be something that can kind of flex with where we are in life. And when they need to rev it up to high gear, then that can be good. Hello, Jackie. Hello. So I just wanted to go over that just really quickly, that it is a numbers game, but it's not a slimy numbers game. It's not a numbers game in that you just, we don't get any, what do you call that when they join and you get a kickback fee?
Yeah, we don't get any...
we don't get any...
money.
Join. Oh, different compensation plans call it where you get a bonus when somebody joins, just for joining. I can't remember what they call it because we don't get them. So we don't get those. So basically it doesn't really do us any good to just go and get 50 people all at once if we're not going to support them and help them and make them a part of our team, which I'm not saying don't recruit a lot and don't recruit wide and don't look for people to join. But anyway, just do it tactfully and don't be spammy, and take care of them once they join your team, because they could be your next potential directors and superstar directors, or it might just be that they want 200 PRV and want to kind of take it slow and just be a really good customer consultant. So anyway, so that was one thing that I want to talk about. The chapter was amazing. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit and it demystified the big build. When I first read that chapter a couple times, and so I still see it when I see it. I thought it said demystifying the big bird. And I was like, big bird, like, I don't get it. See, look.
Yeah.
I just
I can see that. Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know if I was the only crazy one, but demystifying the big bird, and I'm like, what is this book about? So demystifying the big build. The big build, moral of the story is you can only get so far by building big on your sales. But as she said, once you make that mind shift towards building a big team, then instead of you just getting 200 PRV or 500 PRV, even 5,000 PRV, it gets multiplied by all of your team working together. And that's the beauty of it, is that's where the power of multiplication happens. So. Well,
and you mentioned you said she talks about going to power prospecting, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I lost that here.
It was right.
So like Becky said, on the top of page 15, where she makes the shift from product sales to power prospecting, right? And that's how it really changed her business.
Yeah, right? That's where the shift is. So that's what we want to talk about today, is how to recruit and how to build your pitch. And Dave has come up with this. It's even pretty. Look, when Dave does something, he does it well. And so he's made this this packet that we will put in the group for you guys. I'll upload the file. I guess I should have done that first. But you know what? I'll do that while you're talking to him. I'll do it right now. Then you can pull it up and he will go through. He made this because he's amazing like that. And he created this booklet to walk through to help you craft your own personal story, so that as you do your recruiting, you will see people and opportunities as they come up to you. But now you'll feel a little bit more comfortable with how to lead into it. What do you say? How do you do it effectively? How do you approach it? All of that stuff. And it really is helpful. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today, is leading you through that process of discovering your story and sharing it.
So, and Becky gives me too much credit because all I did was put on paper what she does, right? And she's
but he makes it pretty.
And so, anyway, so that's what that is. Yeah, that's what this packet is. You'll see it looks like this, except it won't be in reverse. And so, while she's posting that, again, one of the other reasons is this group has the 250 PRV a week and one new recruit a week, right? Which is kind
hooray
of a
for Dre and Bev, and for recruiting. They both have one new recruit.
Way to go.
And Debbie and your cute team, I forgot to look because you're not in my immediate team report, so I didn't see. So if you guys have recruited this week, 2 thumbs up for you as well.
So what we wanted to do, if you're anything like us, maybe in the past or even recent past, you've had individuals, or you're aware of the stereotype of direct sellers kind of poaching everybody. And there's like a slimy stereotype. It's kind of the one thing that people don't like about direct sellers. And it's the one thing that makes people the most nervous about joining direct selling, as well as when they become a direct seller. It's the one thing that gives people the most anxiety, that is recruiting. I think everybody can kind of get behind a product, right? We can all say, you know what, this product makes your home smell great, your car smell great, whatever it is. You can talk about the fragrance or the design or the new, the child buddy, right? Everybody can get behind that, but when you start to kind of offer the opportunity to people, that's when we all get a little bit nervous. And what we want to try to avoid are things like where we come across as slimy, right? So what this packet does, again, is built on how Becky started recruiting, is makes it so that you can have effective conversations and feel good about yourself, while you're in the conversations and later, and never have to worry about becoming one of those, right? The slimy, beggy, perceived as annoying type of person that's trying to recruit friends, family, or other people to join your fantastic team. little do they know how lucky they would be or what it could do for their life. But we'll talk about how to do that, and I think Becky's just about got it posted.
I'm just making sure I posted the right thing. I
Okay.
posted something.
Okay. Oh, it looks like
Yeah, it looks like the right thing. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm just going to quickly walk through the first page.
So I did post it. Sorry,
okay.
I did
Yeah.
post it in week 1. I uploaded a file, and it's called "How to Improve Recruiting Convos." So anyway, you can pull that up, and we'll walk through it together.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of give you a second to pull that up, but I'll start on the first page. It talks a lot about what I've just said. The very first quote comes from, who said that again?
This?
Yeah, no, sales is money.
Oh, that's Mary Christensen,
So Mary Christensen.
who is the direct sales guru. If you haven't read her books, they're a little thicker. That's why we didn't use her book for this, because I've got quite a few of them over there and I love them. But they're a little thicker. It's like the Bible, the handbook. Sarah Robbins is much thinner, so we can go through hers a lot easier together. It's kind of like a level 1. But anyway, Mary Christensen is the rock star guru of all things. So if you ever are looking for a book to check out from the library or something to read, anyway, that's a little plug for Mary Christensen. She's been around since the beginning of time with direct sales. She's got a lot of good advice. But that's her plug, her little epiphany.
So yeah, she says at the beginning of page 1, sales is money for today and recruits are money for tomorrow. And maybe in our next conversation, Becky and I will post a chart that shows our income that demonstrates this. At the bottom of that page 1, and I'm going to walk through this as if you're looking at it. So if you don't have it, you can pull it up now, or if you're looking at this later, get this PDF that Becky posted. And what's it called? How
to be a recruiting rock star too, because your file name is different.
Okay.
It was recruiting combos or something like that.
Yeah.
But they can find it in the week 1.
So pull it up and follow along. At the bottom of that page is one of our favorite quotes when it comes to recruiting, because the mindset that people have a lot of times is fear, right? So if I were to recruit Becky, I'm at a party or something, and I'm looking at her and I say, oh, you know what, she'd be fantastic as a consultant. I like her in so many different ways, and I'd love to have her be a part of my business. But what I'm afraid that she's going to say, well, what's the monthly requirement? Or how long's it been around? Or how do you calculate sales tax? Or do I have to calculate sales? Just all these questions. And I'm afraid to even approach her about it because I don't know the answers. Well, the quote at the bottom there demonstrates what we found. It's a famous Canadian neurologist who studies the brain, and he says, the essential difference between emotion and reason is that emotion leads to action while reason leads to conclusions, right? So one takeaway from that is that if your potential recruit is asking you a lot of detailed questions and you're providing a lot of logical answers, that's not necessarily going to convince them or get them any closer to becoming a consultant. You want to reach them on an emotional level. And we'll talk about how to do that. And it's through, I guess I'll give you a hint. It's through your own personal experiences. And then we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so moving on to page 2, changing perspective. Beck, you're really good at changing perspective. Do you want to kind of walk us through a little bit of this?
Sure. I think a lot of that. So when I joined, like a lot of you, I was like, oh, I don't want to turn into one of those consultants. I don't want to be one of those people that people see my name on their caller ID and they're like, oh, she's probably calling to beg me to host a party or to have me buy something or to pester me into, helping her reach her goals or something like that. And I was really afraid of that. But and that carried over for sure into my recruiting because I didn't want people to feel like I wanted them to join my team just because it was going to benefit me or just because I was going to get something out of it or because I would get an award or a trip or something like that or that because I want to make more money off of them. When really, in reality, all of those things are true. That's how we build our businesses. That's how we grow. But a lot of it has to do with a mindset shift. If you take it from, you need to come join me because you're going to help me. It's the opposite. It's that we're not begging and pleading to have them Please come join my team. Please come help me. Please come. You'll love it, but I need to really drag you over here. No, you're offering them something. Like take a step back and think about your life. How would it be different without Scentsy? Are you glad you have Scentsy in it? What has Scentsy done for you? Even if it's just friendship, like our cute Michelle has decided that she, catch the replay. That's all right. Even Michelle decided her life is blessed and better with Scentsy in it because of the friendships. Our life is blessed and better because this is how we live right now. Because anyway, our story just happened to where this is providing an income for our family, so that neither one of us has to leave the home and go out and work. Whatever it is, it's a huge blessing to you, whether it's even just that it's something fun and kind of helps get you outside of your shell. Whatever it is, think of those things and think of how your life would be different if you didn't have Scentsy in it. And then all you're doing is you're sharing. You're blessing somebody else with the opportunity to make the choice. Your job is just to invite. It's not even to convince somebody to join. When you take that pressure off of your shoulders, your job isn't to get people to join your team. Your job is solely to invite, and then let them choose. But if you don't ever invite them because you're like, oh, I don't want to pressure them, or oh, I don't want to be that kind of person, or oh, whatever, then they don't ever get to choose. So you're sharing something amazing. Yeah. And then it would kind of be selfish if you didn't share. If you have something amazing, a new way to do something, or something that you just found, and you are like, oh, I don't want to bug them, or I don't want to seem annoying, but you never tell them about this great deal, this great whatever, this great new movie, or this great recipe you just found, whatever it is, it's kind of hoarding. It's kind of, being selfish to kind of keep it to yourself if you don't. And it's the same thing. It's just your mind shift, flipping it on its head, saying it's not a burden that you're asking somebody, come join this team because it's so heavy. It's no, I really would love to have you join me because I know that it's blessed my life and it will bless yours as well. So it's that perspective of, you're sharing something great, just like you would share a new favorite Netflix binge that you just saw, share it just as easily as that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I've heard, Becky, a couple examples I've heard you say before are, one is like, oops, I just dropped a paper clip. One is when the waiter or waitress comes around and says, hey, do you want me to refill your water or coffee or whatever? Or would you like a coffee with that? You don't get offended. She's just asking, right? And so that's one of the examples I've heard you talk about. Yeah. And then the other one, like...
And I don't even drink coffee, so my answer is forever going to be no. But am I offended that she offered? No. Am I offended if she even comes around twice to offer again? No, I'm not offended. I'm thinking she's doing a good job with her job, and that was kind of her to think that I might want some and offer it. That's it. Nobody's going to think badly of you for sharing the opportunity with them. If you do it genuinely and from the heart, just like my cute little waitress in my example is doing, she just wanted to share some coffee with me. Yeah. And so even if they say no, nobody's going to hate you for it. They're actually going to be flattered that you thought of them. I promise. Even though it might not feel that way, that's how it's always been. Even when people tell me no, I've had lots of no's. Every single time they felt special that I would think of them and invite them. In fact, there was one time that I asked somebody, it was a host of mine or a friend or something, and I finally asked her after a long time because I just thought, oh, she's not going to want to join. She's not that type, or she whatever. And I finally asked her, and she kind of was like, oh, I just thought you didn't want me on your team all this time. And I'm like, no, I just was too wimpy to ask you. So don't take it from them. Give them the opportunity to say yes or no.
Yeah, so in conclusion, before we exit number 1, changing your perspective, like the things to remember there, obviously I hope you've got your own kind of takeaways, but essentially you're not begging, you're not pleading, you don't need to, right? You're just sharing, like Becky said, the cool new show that you found on Netflix. If you're anything like my kids, you tell everybody about Avatar. It just came out on Netflix, and I think they've seen it all.
Even my brother called to say, hey, have your kids watch Avatar.
Right? So as humans, we naturally do that. We just share and talk about the cool, nice, fun, whatever things that we've discovered in life. And so that's the approach, mindset that you want to have going into it, is that you're just sharing something that you like, right? That blesses your life. Okay, number 2. And this is how we talked about that quote on page 1 about how emotion leads to action. Well, number 2 is the meat of how that how that happens in your recruiting conversation. So you can go ahead and take a look at it. But I'm going to just talk about a few things here. One of them is making a list of the tangible benefits that Scentsy has given you. So for example, when was it? 4 years ago, Scentsy took us to Greece as a top 100 earner. Becky rock and rolled and earned an all expense paid trip for 2 of us to go to Greece. And it was fantastic. So that's a tangible benefit that Scentsy has given us. Now another one is an intangible benefit. Like Becky mentioned earlier, Michelle Mills has talked about how Scentsy has provided her a whole new set of friendships and relationships. So that's an intangible benefit. And what that means is that you can share a bite-sized story. So again, if I were recruiting Becky, I could say something as part of that conversation. One thing I could say is, hey, Scentsy's been so cool for us. It sent us to Greece a few years ago, all expense paid. So I got to actually stand on Mars Hill and tour the Acropolis and what's that place? The Olympiad, Zeus's place.
The Temple of Zeus.
The Temple of Zeus, yeah, that's the place. And that was a 1 sentence, maybe 2 sentence story, right? And that gets somebody's attention, right? Rather than, well, let me tell you about the monthly, or let me tell you about the products, or let me run, all those details that they're just really going to get lost.
For example, our story, I joined because you had just finished your private grad school and we had $100,000 in student loans and I hated them. And so with Scentsy, that was my goal, was to quickly pay those off as quickly as possible because I did not want them. I didn't want them on our back. I didn't want to pay 30 years of paying it off and paying all that interest. So we were able to, thanks to Scentsy, we were able to work and pay that off in record time. So that's something that was a bite-sized chunk, as well as we've taken our kids to Disneyland with our Scentsy money. We, Christmas, we don't have to worry about Christmas. Lots of times at the beginning, I would tell people, hey, I used to have to worry about paying for Christmas. And, thanks to Scentsy, I've been able to not have to worry about that. So a lot of times your stories are ways that somebody else can relate to you and then they can identify with that.
Well, and I think sometimes, I used the example of Greece, but I think it doesn't have to be that big, right? It can be, because we obviously, before then, what would we have said, right? So it can be, hey, Scentsy pays for my cell phone bill, or Scentsy pays for my new car, Scentsy pays my mortgage, Scentsy pays for an extra date night or 2 or 3 or whatever, right? And so anything like that, right? So now what you should be doing right now is start making a list, just for the next couple of seconds while I'm finishing my blabbing here, of the tangible and intangible benefits. So some examples of tangible would be things like, I just mentioned, it pays the phone bill, it pays for piano lessons, guitar lessons, sports teams, an extra date night, mortgage, car, anything like that, anything tangible. And it can be whatever you want it to be. You know what? Maybe you're like me and you like Air Jordans. And you can say, hey, it bought me the limited edition, this, that, or whatever special shoe. Or you know what? It's my shoe budget. Didn't we have somebody who they buy?
Yeah, Jamie Sons. That's why she joined, just because she wanted to spend $100 a month on shoes and she didn't want to feel guilty about it and didn't want to have to take it from her family budget. And so she's like, that way I could just totally splurge and not feel bad. Your Target splurge or whatever,
whatever it is,
and not even have to feel guilty if you want
Mani Petties, whatever.
Yeah.
Then there's the intangible benefits. Would be like Michelle, the relationships, the peace of mind in kind of troubled times. Whatever it might be.
As a mom, that was always huge for me because I've been a stay-at-home mom ever since we had kids because that's what I want to do. I love my kids. They're first place in my whole life. That is my focus and my priority. But every day I have to do the dishes again. Every day they need to eat, so I have to make food again. Every day it kind of was a hamster wheel, especially while the kids were little. And I loved it, but it was hard to really mark progress. And so for me, a huge intangible benefit that I didn't realize I needed, but that was so pivotal to my motherhood, was having something that I could measure every day and having a business that I could grow and having, to-dos that I could check off and we're actually, because I got to make the bed again tomorrow, right? So it was nice to have something that I could measure because I know that I'm growing and raising kids and I know that I'll be able to look back and say, oh, I'm glad I did a good job. But I'm not able to say that one day to the next, you know, and it was just really nice and something that I didn't count on needing, that intangible benefit as a stay-at-home mom of being able to kind of work on something and have some progress and have something that was mine, you know.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's the intangibles. And again, there's a one-liner at the bottom of that page. Remember, you want these to be 1 or 2 sentence stories. You want the nugget, not the whole chicken. Okay? Okay, so now we're going on to the next page. We're talking about number 3, direct versus indirect. Did you want to talk about this one back, or you want me to go ahead? Either way. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and start, and then you can pepper. Okay, so essentially when you're talking to people, you either choose to talk, you know, so one of the things you might do is, and I think Becky's talking about this, the Fab 5, right? Or essentially you're in your house and you're thinking, hey, you know what? If I could do Scentsy with anybody, who would I do it with? Well, you know, if it's me, you know, Jimmy Fallon, he'd be fun doing Scentsy. You know, I don't know who else would be on your list, but people that you like to hang out with and that you think you could collaborate and work well with, right? So those
generally speaking, people you know, not Jimmy Fallon, but
okay, yeah. So
unless you have an in with somebody famous like Jimmy Fallon and he makes it on your list, then you can have it. But usually it's going to be more like your friends, neighbors, relatives, coworkers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So. And that is the direct approach. That means you're going to approach them directly.
Say, hey, come join me.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to do what I do?
Right. Yeah. And then there's the indirect approach, which is the, you know, say you're doing a party and you say something to the effect of, hey, and if anyone is interested in doing what I do and making money, doing something you love, then come talk to me. And sometimes this is actually kind of really effective. I've seen Becky do it, where you're indirectly being direct. So if Becky were my party host, I would say, hey, you know, do you know anybody? Even though maybe again I want Becky on my team, I would still ask her indirectly. I would say, hey, do you know anybody that would be interested in joining Scentsy? Right? And was it the lady in Idaho Falls that was like, well, me?
I would, yeah. So my preferred method is direct, because when you directly say, you look for some reason why they would be great at it and say, Dave, I would love for you to be on my Scentsy team because you are so good with graphics. You're so good on the computer and you could really rock and roll your business, you know, online and through utilizing your huge skills with graphics. So that's the direct method, because you get to look for some reason why they would be great and directly say, hey, I want you on my team. Come join me. You get to give them that invitation. But like you said, if you're either just kind of scared or if you've asked them before and they've said no, then a second approach, or as well as to expand your reach, is to ask indirectly. And lots of times that person will say, well, me as well. So
yeah, and that's a big part that I failed to mention, right? That if you're inviting somebody directly, then and this is a big way that you can have engage in this conversation without feeling slimy, is you're essentially, and Becky likes this part, when you get to give them a compliment and just say, hey, you know what, you're so sociable. I love to work with the people that I like to work with, and I think because you're sociable, I would love to work with you, and I think you would do awesome, right? Or you're
organized,
yeah.
They don't even have to be the life of the party kind of people.
Yeah.
It can be anything, you know, like that's the reason why I joined, because my mom did that for me. And she said, you've always wanted to run a business. I think you would be really good at this. And I think you should run it like a business. And that was all it took for me to actually finally have that light bulb moment and be like, oh, otherwise I never would have thought to join direct sales.
Yeah.
So because my mom saw something and that was unique to me, something specific, so it can't just be, again, we're not doing spam sandwiches here, something specific. And so you kind of train your eyes to see what specifically they are good at. And it can be anything from graphics to being organized, to being sociable, to having lots of friends, to being connected, to loving to do fundraisers, whatever it is. There's a million reasons why somebody might be good. You find that reason and then you tell them, you would be great at Scentsy because blank. And then you directly say, you know, have you ever thought of joining my team? Have you ever thought of doing what I do? And then you directly ask them. Or the indirect is, like you said, who do you know? Or asking for referrals. That's a great way to do it as well. You know, the whole brag tags, when somebody gets your products and they post it online and then they tag you, that's a recruiting method for you as well, because they're indirectly helping who do you know?
Yeah.
So.
And what do you think, Beck, of someone that says something like this? I'm looking for 5 people that just would love to learn more about being a rock star direct seller, or that would love to learn more about, working from home and that kind of thing. Do you like that approach? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And in fact, what I've done sometimes that works really well is I'll say, I've got a new program that I'm rolling out. Even if it's just that I'm kind of revamping my shooting star and I'm just going to hold their hand a little bit more. I've got a program that I'm revamping, and I have room for 5. I only have room for 5, but I'm looking to mentor 5 people who are, wanting to earn some extra income or who are wanting to give this a try. And I'm going to personally mentor you. Secret, I personally mentor everybody who wants it, but you don't have to tell them. And so if they think, oh, this is something special and she's going to help me do it, well, I guess not everybody does that. Maybe not everybody helps their newbies and really mentors them, but I do every single person who joins. So, but when you kind of frame it around, I'm looking to help 5 people join this month.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who might want to jump on board this amazing opportunity?
Yeah.
That's worked really well for me too. As long as it sounds non-commercially and non-professional. Actually, the less professional, the better. If it just sounds like something of a, hey, guess what? Then that's good. That's better, because then it feels more natural and fun instead of too packaged. Which is why I hesitate to give you guys too many scripts for recruiting, because it sounds robotic, and it can't be robotic or else it won't work. So
far we've talked about changing your mindset. Bite-sized stories, just small nuggets, 1 or 2 sentences of how intangibly or tangibly Scentsy's changed or improved your life.
And even if you just joined and it hasn't really done much for you, those can also be dreams and goals for the future. What your bite-sized goals of what you're hoping that it does, what you're wanting it to do for your family, what you envision because of Scentsy. Those are just as powerful as well. So that was number 2.
Yeah, and then this third one was direct versus indirect. Whether you're going directly at a person, again, or just a short story and why you think they particularly would be good. And I would add, just like, don't overthink it, right? Don't they're good at this, they're good, whatever. Just you make an observation, they're good.
Or just, I like you and I want to work with you. That's good enough too. I think you'd be really fun. I really like you. Come join me. That's great.
Yeah.
That's way better than, I think you would be good because, you know what I mean? Just make it fun, and, everybody wants to belong. And if you can make it to where you're asking them to come belong with you, then even if they don't believe in themselves yet, that's okay. You can bring them along and you can believe in them. And that's really what a lot of humans need, is somebody to believe in them and to see something in them and to just say, hey, I will help you do it. I have confidence in you, but even if you don't have confidence in you, come join come use my confidence, and I will help you. You're not going to be in this alone. So.
Yeah, which goes back to the emotion leads to action.
Yes,
right?
And that's why you need to connect on that emotional level of confidence and hope, and that's why stories are so good, as well as the confidence that you can exude that they're not going to be alone. That feeling of finding that place, that tribe, that great place, that new identity.
And where this gets slimy is when that reason why you think they would be good at it is artificial and fake, and it's like something that you've said to a million other people. Now, it's not to say that there are 100,000 people that are social or organized, right? But it just needs to be very real, right? And matching and tailored to the person that you're talking to, rather than, just a contrived list of qualities, right? So, okay. Now we're going to go number 4, which is the why now.
This is the last section.
And then we get into some samples if you're looking at the document. Why now? The key takeaway here is there is always a good reason to join.
Right now.
Mm-hmm. Right?
It's always the best time to join.
Yeah, and you want to establish some kind of urgency, because if not, then the invitation that you've extended will just kind of, I think typically people just have anxiety. Right, and if there's not
it's scary. It's scary to think about something new, and it's scary to think about, well, what if there's a million reasons why they would not want to join, and maybe that's a good list to make. What are all the reasons that you think hold somebody back? Why would somebody not join? Well, it could be that they're afraid that you're going to pressure them, or there's huge quotas, or that there's a lot of pressure to be, rocking and rolling and push. Or, it could be that they're afraid they don't know enough people. I hear that a lot. Or they're afraid that they don't want to be salesy, or that they're not good salespeople. That's okay. Most of us really aren't, or don't start out that way, and we kind of grow into it. There is a lot of fear and anxiety around doing, or also the fear of, how are people going to see me? Am I going to be embarrassed that now this is what I do, or, things like that. So
and there's always a good time to join. And one of the things that we'll have you do after this, and there are some examples in the workbook, is write a list of different reasons that in every month that it's a good time to join. It's almost always a good time to join in advance of the last half of the year, so that people can take advantage of that, right? So they can get their feet wet and then go and rock and roll in the third and fourth quarter.
Which has been totally flipped on its head now, because April and May have been way bigger than our Novembers were, and June is starting and ramping up to be even bigger than even one. So generally you kind of build up to the fourth quarter, but dang, girls, we're right, and Vic, we're right in the middle of our fourth quarter high selling season and high growth season, and recruiting is through the roof. And so, why is now the best time to join? Generally speaking, June is not the best time to join.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to find a reason why it's the best time to join, but right now it's very much so. Whenever you join is the best time to join.
Well, the only thing I'd add to that is you're not trying to just create this fake anxiety, stressful feeling, right?
It's not a now or never.
Yeah, you just want to add a little bit of a date to the end of them getting back to you. So if you say something to the effect of, hey, you know what, and I have a special thing, and it ends this month, right? Whether it's the kit or you want to get started as soon as possible, get back to me in a week or whatever. Because if not, then the thought will just disappear. They won't hear back from you, and then essentially that becomes a no, right?
It becomes cold. It's kind of like if you learn about something new or you get excited, then your energy is up like this and it's so exciting you can't wait. And yes, it's a little anxious and nervous and stuff. So you want to think about it overnight. Yeah. But if you wait too long, then it kind of cools down, and then you're like, oh. And then all of the fears really set in, and then you talk yourself out of it. Yeah. When really, of course we have those fears, but we don't have to listen to them, because lots of times they're not substantiated and they just get bigger and bigger in your mind. So you want to give them enough time that they don't feel super pressured, but at the same time, you don't want them to cool off, because it is an emotional decision that you're asking them to make. You're not asking them to think about it and write a thesis, because then that's the logic. Remember, we want them to act, which is when you tap into that emotion, you need to make sure that you're following up with them every couple of days, if not sooner, just because otherwise it gets worse for them. It's not self-serving, I want to hurry and get you on my team. It's because the anxiety will build even more, and action leads to results and success, and then you feel good about it. So.
Yeah. Well, and remember, that next conversation or the next time you talk to them doesn't have to be the yes or no, right? The next time it can be, if the conversation ends and it's essentially, well, let me think about it, well, then you say, is there anything I can do to help you consider this opportunity, right? Or how about I send you this, that, or whatever.
Or do you have any more questions that I can help answer?
Yeah, any more questions or videos. The emotion is going to kind of get them clinched, but there's always some questions typically that they'll have. So anyways, remember, don't just like, okay, next time I hear from you, it's got to be yes or no, right? Maybe the next
Unless you have the kit. I've done that with the kit and it's worked, because the kit is attached to a party and I need to close my party. So if you want to get my discounted kit, you kind of have to do it quickly. And that's kind of like a limited time offer with like our Scentsy things. They sell better limited time than just, get it whenever you feel like it, Yeah. So in some instances that, you got to do it by tomorrow because I have to close this party. Yeah. Sometimes that kind of helps and is beneficial, even if it is a little scary and nervous.
Well, and that goes back to the stories for a new consultant. Mm-hmm. It may be that, and maybe some of you could raise your hand. How many of you paid off your sign-up costs in the first month, right? And you get anybody's attention who's entrepreneurial when you say, I paid off my startup costs in 1 month. And
made back that initial investment, for Dre and Jessica and a couple others who just joined and got their 1,000 PRV last month. The 500 was all it took to pay off their starter kit, and then they sold another 500, so they made back their investment 100%.
Yeah, and so you can always reduce the barrier there, reduce the anxiety of it by saying within 30 days you'll have your money back and then some.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And that's why I joined, because I was like, okay, if I sell $500 in my first, because it was PRV, in my first 2 weeks, my paycheck will pay off my starter kit. So in case I hate this, I can walk away. And because I kind of approached it with that mindset, it made it a lot less scary. So for sure, because I joined in May. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Good job.
So the last 2 pages that we've got here, this page here, I guess I'll kind of bring it up here. This has some samples you can see on this kind of legend. It tells you, it color codes what part of that we've talked about, that these conversations fall into, right? And do you want to read these? What do you think is the most effective way to do this part here?
Sure, and then we'll let them just kind of write their own, and then that can be the challenge, is they craft their own. So we'll read some samples of some that Dave has crafted with us that have those 3 pictures, those 3 parts of stories, a little nugget, direct versus indirect method, and then the why now. So those are all different colors. So you create, they call it an elevator pitch, like 30 seconds. These might even be a little bit too long. You try to cut it down, because we all know I talk too much. So usually it packs a punch when it's short and sweet, and then you let them ask you all of the questions. Instead of trying to tell them everything, they will be a lot more emotionally involved if you can somehow ask a question or spark a conversation to where they are imagining themselves in your shoes through something small that you say. And then this is the last page that you can get, like I said, and download it and craft your own story where he asks, anyway, we'll go over that in a second, but that's it. And then we're done for the evening. So
the first example, I'm just going to read it here. The first part, and anyways, you'll notice as you go through and look at these examples that there is no particular order that you have to use these elements that we've talked about. So I'll read it. It says, so imagine me talking to Becky, and it says, hey, I became a Scentsy consultant a year ago, and I paid off my starter kit at my first party. Since then, Scentsy's paid for date nights, phone bills, car payments, and more often, all of those. I've also earned some free trips where I've got to meet great new friends and chillax on Scentsy's dime. So, and then here's the direct versus indirect. So if anyone here knows someone that would like to have Scentsy take care of their phone bill, car payment, or might even like a free trip, let me know. And then this is the why now, the urgency. And actually, now is a great time to join because it's 10% off month, and everyone likes a great deal on Scentsy, so you'll be able to really get your business off to a great start.
Obviously, that was just an example. It's not 10% off month, but that's one example of when it went. Good. And this was an example of at a party, what you would say to help everybody know that you're wanting them to join as well. Okay, so here's another example. Sally, one of my favorite parts of being a Scentsy consultant is I get to choose who I work with, and I think you would be an awesome Scentsy consultant. You're so easygoing and fun, you'd blow this out of the water. I just started 3 months ago, and I paid off my starter kit with my first party, and everything since then has been gravy. I've met a lot of great people and been able to pay for my kids' piano lessons. Anyways, I think you'd be great and wanted to let you know because it's a great time to join so you can gear up for the holiday season and really launch your business into high gear.
Okay, and then the last one. It says, I'm growing my Scentsy team, and you came to my mind because you're so determined that I think you would rock as a Scentsy consultant. I mean, if I can do it and earn enough to pay for my phone and car payments, I know you would totally rock it. Oh, and they just announced an incentive trip to the moon, so it's a great time to join so you can earn a free trip. Who couldn't use a free trip to the moon? So you can see they're different. The order of the elements is different. This last one, the bite-sized story was 1 sentence. It wasn't even a full sentence. I can do it and earn enough to pay for my phone and car payments. Right? And so it just doesn't even have to be long, to Becky's point earlier. Okay, so then to wrap it up, like Becky was talking, the last page here, and I think this is what your homework is for them, right?
Yes. Yep, that's part of your homework, yes. So on the craft your own pitch part, it says the red, and again, it's color-coded because Dave's awesome like that. List the individuals you'd like to approach directly. So again, this is your Fab 5. Remember, we already talked about picking your Fab Five, your dream team, people that you would love to work with, whether you think they would want to or not. You never know. A lot of people might not have asked me because I'm not the hostess with the mostest, or I'm not or I don't buy stuff or whatever. But yeah, who would you want to approach directly because you think they'd be good or you just like them? We talked about that before. So Fab Five, but do it for 10. See if you can list 10 people and then contact them. And then also list of stories you could share with the potential recruits. That's where you said your little bite-sized chunks of stories. Tangible and intangible things that Scentsy has done or provided, or your hopes and dreams you hope that they'll provide for you, or you started this so that you can blank, those work as well. So start jotting those down. They call it your arsenal of stories, just a bunch of different stories that you could relate to different people through conversation as things come up. You could just be kind of already have it top of mind, and then use that. And then reasons why it's a good time to join for all 12 months. So that's everything from, a new catalog launch to
bring back
my bar to
10%
10% off, and
some new catalog.
Yeah, sometimes there's double host kit rewards. It's the high season for Christmas, and it's always a good time to join.
Fundraisers.
Yeah, fundraisers. Back to school stuff is great. So think about why it would be good, and then that way these things can kind of come to your mind. So here's your challenge for the week. The challenge is to get 10 no's. So to get 10 no's, or you could get yeses, but you got to get 10 no's. The reason why we say no, get 10 no's, is because then you're having success when people are turning you down. Because chances are not everybody is ready to join, not everybody wants to join, and not everybody is brave enough to join. And that's okay. So I think they usually say it's about 10 to 1, isn't it?
10 to 1, yeah, something like that.
You have to invite 10 people. Oh, I've also heard that it takes 7 times of somebody being invited or brushing into it somehow before they kind of assimilate a thought or an idea. So if somebody ran into a booth at the fair, and then somebody else had Scentsy on at their house, and then somebody else, whatever, and then you invite them to join Scentsy, you're like on the 4th or 5th time that they've been touched by Scentsy and introduced at a touch point. So that also means sometimes you're going to have to ask them 3 or 4 times until they're ready. And that's okay, because a no doesn't always mean no forever. It just means no for now. So you're hunting for those no's. So your goal this week is to get 10 of them, 10 no's. And then the idea is in between there, you'll find a yes. But you'll be excited to go out and find the no's, because even if they say no, like I said, you're winning. You're fulfilling your goal. So write down your Fab Five and contact them. Contact all 5 of them, and then write down your Fab Five, a new Fab Five again. And why do we say contact them instead of just think about them? Your brain is so amazing. And when you actually write something down, you'll think of new people, and your brain will jog to new different ideas, and it kind of will take different pathways than if you just think about it and then try to keep it in your mind. So write it down or jot it in the notes section of your phone. I have that. It's like my little potential recruit running list. People to talk to about potential hosts and potential recruits. And I just keep that as a running list. So write your Fab Five, contact them all, and then write 5 more so that by the end of the week you have 10 no's. And if one of them joins, then you have to replace them with another no, because you need to get 10 no's.
Yeah, and that also means that's the direct method, right? That also means that you want to be doing indirect, right? So if you're dropping off an order for a customer, or if you're doing, getting some food at a restaurant, or wherever you might be. Or even just
posting online.
Yeah, posting online. It's also remembering to include it into every single conversation, and do it in the way that we've talked about today. Or again, so before you do that, make sure you go ahead and go through this workbook so you can be prepared for that. Okay.
And then post what you did or you said to get your 10. Screenshot a conversation that you had with one of your Fab Five, or screenshot your list. I know some of you, I think it was Shelly who wrote her list. Like I asked you to do, she was the only one that did it. She wrote down her list of her 10. I don't know these people, so it's okay. I'm not going to hound you about them. They're not going to see that they're on your list. It's just, again, the act of actually writing it down and being accountable for those names. Then you'll feel like you have to contact them. So TikTok invites. There you go. Yeah, Vic is really good on TikTok. I'm too scared to even start. So that's one area we're going to have Vic train us on. So however you want to contact your people, this is a contact to get them to join your team or to ask them for a referral. Who do you know? Do you know anybody who might want to join my team? So screenshot it or write it down or share with us somehow what you did and maybe what they said. Even if it's no, it's all right. It's okay. Remember, this is to get your 10 no's. So that's the first part of the challenge. The second challenge is to go through this page like we talked about, to craft your pitch and actually make your little elevator pitch. See? Ta-da! What you're going to say, what stories you might use, who, and that's part of that. It's because who you'd want to approach. So this kind of brings it all together. This is your Fab 5 at the top. It's some stories that you should share and why it's good. And then that will help you. They kind of are, the idea is that you want to get a new recruit this week. And so hopefully these challenges will help you in your normal efforts to make recruiting just a natural part of your conversation, a natural part of what you see in others, a natural part of, just you see those opportunities that are right in front of you. So craft your pitch through the workbook and then share it to our group. You can share it either typing it out like these pages were right here, the stories that Dave shared. Wow, I can't pick them up. You could type it out like this on our team page, just your little elevator pitch. Or you can go on and be brave and try to give your pitch live, your 30-second pitch, and just practice on us. And then it will get even easier. And then you could practice and really do your pitch in your VIP group. You could do it on your live Instagram stories. You could do it in your, just when people come over live face-to-face. So anyway, it's just our idea behind these challenges is to train you around why you want to do it, the best practices to do it, and then now the challenge is to have you go do it so that you will be building these systems into your business to where you will just be continuing to do the things that will bring you success.
And it's probably a good idea to write down, that might sound kind of formulaic, might sound kind of stiff, but write down some bite-sized stories with an indirect thing and practice with your tiny teams.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, or your husband, or your kids, or your dog or cat, or whatever you've got that can look at you, or even the mirror.
The mirror, yeah, if you need.
So just, and the tiny teams can give good feedback. I know when we did this first, it was kind of a little rough, and we've done this mentoring other people. And the first time,
you think, oh, that's easy, I could do that. I'm just sharing why I joined and what I hope to get out of it, and that you should join me too, but it's scarier than
it's rough.
It's a little robotic until you do it, then you get better at it.
So practice tiny teams, families, friends, mirror, whatever you've got, and you'll notice, you'll get better after 3 or 4 times. So,
Yep. Anyways. I hope you're using your tiny teams. The idea behind that is to help you with your challenges that we give you throughout the week, as well as with your goal to get at least 250 PRV and 1 recruit every week. And if you're having a hard time with recruiting, go in there and just give ideas. Or if you find a great video or a great asset, which is like a great image or something like that to use, or something like that. I know one thing, if you're having a hard time just kind of getting the courage to do it or reminding yourself to do it. Again, this was an old trick by Mary Christensen. She puts bangles, or you could even do hair ties, because I have hair ties on my wrist all the time. Put something around your wrist, put 5 on one side or 10. And then throughout the day, once you talk to somebody, once you make that invitation, then you move it to the other side. So you start out with all of them on one arm, and then by the end of the night, you have to have moved them over or you can't go to bed. So, so it's just something, or I've even seen people moving popsicle sticks from one container to the other. And once you get it done, then you get to move it. It's that little success, that intrinsic reward of, I did it. They said no, or they said maybe, or they didn't respond, but I did it. So I get to move a popsicle stick. So find your system to help you do it. And don't be afraid. Just make it a normal, natural part. We're always looking for ways to sell. We're always looking for ways to share what we're using with Scentsy. So don't be afraid to share why you love being a part of Scentsy as well, and why you think somebody else would, be benefited to come join you, and why they'd be great. So anyway, okay, if you guys have any questions, again, you know where to find us, and we've taken up too much of your time, and sorry it's so late. I know it's super late for you guys, but sometimes that's how we roll. It's not even dark here, and the real reason why we were so late today is because we were supposed to do our taxes clear back in March.
April.
But for businesses, they're due March 15th. So we're supposed to turn them in March 15th. And because of coronavirus, they extended that. So we didn't have to turn them in until June 15th. And today's the 9th. And we finally just got them in. So That was an ugly project that we really should have been more on top of. But anyway, so sorry for that reason why we were so late. And it was just a busy day with summer and kids home. You all know how it goes. It gets a little crazy, but we love you. We're thinking about you often. We're checking your numbers and cheering you on so loud. So proud of all that you are doing and how you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. That's where the change happens. That's where the big growth happens. So I can't wait to have you introduce us to all of your new team members that you're going to find this week, because I know as you're sifting and digging through all that gold, you're going to find somebody who really needs this opportunity. They might not know it. They might not know that this is what they're waiting for, but they're waiting for you to invite them so that they can jump on board with you. So anyway, we love you guys. Have a great week and we'll talk to you soon.